Hello there and welcome. This is Mikhail or Michael speaking, and as always before this video starts, I want to express my gratitude towards those generous people who decided to support me financially, be it through Patreon, PayPal or Super Thanks. I really appreciate your help, so thank you friends and have a blessed day. Now today's video I will start with the situation around Crimea Peninsula and Ukrainian landing that occurred yesterday. This landing occurred here near the settlement of Olenivka. Here on the video you can see that it happened during a nighttime. Ukrainians landed what would seem to be unopposed, which would mean that they were undetected by the Russians. After that they hang up a flag somewhere in the darkness, take some videos and photos with it, and retreated. They went in with 3 boats. Ukrainian sources claim that all 3 boats returned safely, however Russian sources claim that at least one was sunk. Of course most pro-Ukrainian sources had presented this operation like some big deal. However, this doesn't look like anything but petty trolling. Of course, it shows that Ukrainians can land limited amount of troops anywhere they want. Now, if we are to believe Russian sources and take into the fact that one boat was sunk and people have died in this operation, that would mean that several people lost their life for a TikTok video. That's an interesting trait, if I may say so myself. Then from here, let's move to the actual front lines. Before we actually go to the other front lines, I want to show you a video of Russians destroying a division of S-300 anti-air system. The loss of this division can be very painful for the Ukrainian side. They are already lacking in anti-air systems, and this is a very sensitive strike on their anti-air capabilities. Then let's visit the Zaporozhian front and first discuss the situation around Orikhiv city, or to be more specific, settlement of Rabatina. About 2 days ago, Ukrainian sources had reported that the settlement of Rabatina was captured by the Ukrainians. However, it would seem that these claims were premature, and the battle for this settlement is still ongoing. Recent report suggests that although Ukrainians control most of the settlement, small portion of Russian forces are still present on the southern part, as well as Russians have strong positions along these force lines, which allow them to counter-attack Ukrainians within the settlement, not allowing them to take full control over the village. Russian control here to the west of Rabatina also allows them to attack Ukrainians from the flank, which greatly hinders their ability to advance within the settlement. While all this action is happening, Russians are heavily shelling the settlement. Here on this video you can see that happening. Recent report suggests the settlement of Rabatina is nearly destroyed. For example, here on this video you can see that. Then of course on this video you can see Ukrainian armor advancing within the settlement and are being heavily shelled. Like I said, this settlement serves as a kill zone for Ukrainians. They enter the settlement and immediately find themselves under heavy artillery fire. This slows down Ukrainians, however doesn't stop them, and they continue to push in attempt to finally capture the settlement completely and stop Russians from constantly counterattacking them within it. These constant Russian attacks are not allow Ukrainians to dig in at the center of the settlement. They are now mostly digging to the northern part. This is where Russians are mostly shelling them in. So all in all, this is how the situation in Rabatina settlement looks. Again, Ukrainians do not control the settlement fully, despite their claiming that as a fact. Then let's discuss the situation near the settlement of Verbova, in the direction of which Ukrainians were also attacking in the last 24 hours. As you can see here, they have finally fully made it to the first line of Russian defenses here. Again, there are no reports that these defensive lines were breached. However, we should give credit where credit is due. Here on this video you can see a result of Russian aviation dropping bombs on advancing Ukrainian forces here in this sector. Again, as Ukrainians advance, they take heavy losses in men and armor, but despite that fact, with determination and persistence, they continue to assault Russian defensive lines and slowly but surely are grinding down Russian defensive lines. Then from here let's quickly discuss situation in Lapkovo-Pyatikhatki sector. Ukrainians once again were reported attacking in the direction of Zherebyanki and in the direction of Russian-controlled portion of Kamyansky settlement. However, these attacks were unsuccessful and Ukrainians were forced to retreat. From here, let's discuss situation on the Vremivka tactical bridgehead. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainian forces continued assaulting Russian positions in the general direction of Zavetne Bazhanye. These assaults came from Urozhaine and Staromayorsky. Some report suggests that Russians are not sitting idle here and counterattack Ukrainians, which makes the situation here very dynamic. It would seem that Russians are not attempting at recapturing Staromayorsky and Urozhaine. These settlements are nearly destroyed and don't hold any strategic value for the Russians. These counterattacks are meant to hinder Ukrainian ability to attack on this front and slow down their advances on other portions of the front. These Russian attacks mostly fixes Ukrainian troops in this area, not allowing them to spread and attack elsewhere. With this, Ukrainian attacks in the direction of Priyutne from Livadne and Novodarivka are coming in lesser numbers, which allows Russians to defend here more efficiently. Russian forces within this salient here were also attacked by the Ukrainians in the last 24 hours. These assaults came mostly from the settlement of Rivnopol. The result of these attacks is unknown. The battle is still ongoing. However, Ukrainian side claims some local success. So if that to be true, we will soon see this reflect on maps and reports. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainians also attacked to the east of Urozhaine, here in attempt to close off this salient located here, and in the direction of Novodonetsk, and to the flank of it in the direction of Kremenchuk. As of right now, no territorial change is reported. From here, let's quickly visit other front lines, for example, settlement of Bakmut, and discuss the situation here. In the last 24 hours, Ukrainians continued assaulting in the direction of settlements of Kurdyumivka, Zelenopilya, as well as Andreevka and Klishevka. Situation around Klishevka remains to be difficult for both sides and very dynamic. Ukrainians are assaulting this village from all possible directions, directly in front of it and to its flank here. Mostly Russian sources reported that Ukrainians were unable to advance here, and all of the attacks here were repelled. The settlement of Klishevka is still mostly in Russian hands. Then from here, let's move to the northern flank of Bakmut. As always, Ukrainians were assaulting Russian positions in front of Yagodne and Berkhivka in attempt to reach those settlements and capture them. However, these attacks were unsuccessful, as well as trying to attack the elevated ground around settlement of Dubova Vasilifka. These assaults were also unsuccessful. Occasionally, Ukrainians are also attempting at attacking along the E40 highway. However, all of these assaults were unsuccessful. Then from here, let's visit Liman Crimea front. Situation here remains to be stable because both Russians and Ukrainians are attacking and counterattacking each other. For example, Russians attempted to attack in the direction of Yampolivka in Terny, as well as in the direction of Torske and Zarichne. There were some advancements within Serebryansky forest, and recent report suggests that Russians were able to capture several trench lines within the forest. Ukrainians answered them with attacks and counterattacks of their own. They attacked in the direction of Dibrova in attempt to capture it, however were unsuccessful, and counterattacked Russians within the Serebryansky forest, and this ledge here. Heavy artillery duels and counter-battery activities are in action, so despite the fact that there are no territorial changes, situation here is dynamic and both sides are engaged in active defense. And from here, let's finally visit Kupiansk front. Here, Russians continued their offensive operations in the direction of Kupiansk. They were reported assaulting from Liman Pershi and Vilshana in a pincer maneuver around settlement of Sinikivka. At this point in time, most reports suggests that Ukrainians have completely abandoned the settlement, and it is now in the gray zone. Russians are not attempting to enter it as of right now. Russian attacks also came in the direction of Petropavlivka. The Russians were assaulting from settlement of Vilshana across these open fields. Then the Russians were reported assaulting from the settlement of Pershatravne in the direction of Petropavlivka and this road. As well as some fighting were recorded in this sets of settlements where Russians are carefully attempting at entering them. However, at this point in time, they haven't done so. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching my video. If it was to your liking, please consider supporting it with a like, comment and subscription. Thank you in advance. As always, humanity calls me to condemn all violence against human beings. Have a good day and always remember, Russia will be free and great.